Good evening, children of the night. The signal is strong, the air is cold. I am Damien Tao. Tonight, I bring you two tales from the space between two warnings. Two prices paid for forgetting the old rules. The first is about a woman named Linda Fay, a factory worker, divorced, broken. She lived alone in the old quarter, scraping pennies together to send child support to her ex-husband. The factory was dying, layoffs coming. She knew her name was on the list. Not young enough. Not skilled enough, just not enough. So Linda worked late, every night, trying to be seen, trying to matter. This particular night, she stayed until 11. The machines shut down one by one, like dying heartbeats, until she was alone, completely alone, with only the blinking emergency lights painting the walls in strobing colors. Her footsteps echoed wrong, too loud, too hollow, like the building was listening. Outside, the street lamps buzzed with that sickly yellow light, the kind that makes everything look jaundiced. Dead. She pedaled her bicycle toward home, the old city district, where the buildings lean too close and the alleys smell like rot. At this hour, the streets were empty. Not peaceful empty, wrong empty. Only the clicking of her bicycle chain. Click, 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 like a clock counting down. To get home, she had to cross the bridge. She'd heard the news that morning. A young woman had jumped from that bridge, jumped and drowned. Body recovered in the afternoon, bloated and cold. Linda's hands tightened on the handlebars. She pedaled faster, wanting to just get across, get home, get safe. Halfway across the bridge, she heard it. Her name soft as a lover's whisper. Linda. The voice drifted through the night, clear, too clear. Every muscle in her body locked. The bicycle wobbled. She almost fell. She wanted to turn around. God, she wanted to look. But the old words came flooding back. Don't turn around when someone calls your name at night. You have 3 fires on your body. Don't tap someone's shoulder at night. You might snuff out their spiritual pilot light, making them invisible to gods but glowing bright for demons. Linda gritted her teeth, stared straight ahead, shouted into the darkness. Who is it? What do you want? Her voice cracked, betrayed her. The response came sweet, playful. Wrong, it is me, Wang Xiaowen. Linda, won't you turn around and look at me? Wang Xiaowen was Linda's co-worker, but Wang lived on the east side of the city, miles away. No reason to be here, no reason to be waiting on a bridge at midnight. Linda's heart became a drum. She knew this was not a living thing. She didn't answer, not a word. Just pedaled, legs pumping, lungs burning. Behind her, footsteps, running, getting closer. The slap of bare feet on wet concrete. Closer, closer. A cold breath on the back of her neck. Her skin erupted in gooseflesh. Finally, she crossed the bridge. The road became familiar cobblestones, but the voice followed. Linda, wait for me, wait. Playful, like a child's game, like hide and seek. She rode into her neighborhood, old communist-era housing blocks from the 70s. Concrete tubes stacked like coffins. No streetlights here, just darkness thick as tar. Linda's hands shook so badly she could barely hold her keys, metal jingling betraying her location. In the darkness, she felt it, eyes watching from behind, from the shadows, from nowhere and everywhere. At her door, Linda forced her voice steady, spoke to the empty air. Stop following me. I have a shrine to Guanggong inside. You can't enter. You have no power here. A sigh drifted from the darkness, disappointed, frustrated, almost sad. Then the presence vanished, snapped away like a cut thread. Linda burst inside, slammed the door, 2 locks. both engaged. She leaned against the door, gasping. There was no shrine, no guangong, just a lie that had saved her life. For now, she checked her watch. Nearly midnight. She was exhausted, wanted to collapse, to forget. But her hair felt greasy, wrong, like it carried the night's corruption on every strand. She had work in the morning, couldn't show up looking like this. The managers would notice, would judge. Linda made a decision, a small decision, the kind that costs everything. She would wash her hair, just quickly, then sleep. She heated water, entered the cramped bathroom, let her hair fall loose. In the mirror, it looked like dead grass, brittle, yellowed, broken. She turned on the faucet. Hot water should have been hot, but it felt cold. Wrong cold. Not the temperature. The water itself was cold, like it came from somewhere deep, somewhere final. She ignored it, washed quickly, added conditioner, wrapped her head in a towel. She'd wait 5 minutes, then rinse. Normal, simple, safe. In the living room, she turned on the TV. Nothing good on, just static snow and late-night reruns. She flipped channels absently. The screen flickered, changed, flickered again. Then she saw it, in the TV screen's reflection behind her. A figure standing motionless behind the sofa, watching her. Linda's heart stopped. The remote nearly fell from her numb fingers. She sat frozen, couldn't turn around, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. It followed me inside. The shrine was a lie, and it knew. Her mind went blank. White noise, just the mechanical click of the remote as she changed channels. The screen changed. The reflection changed. The figure was gone. Linda exhaled. Maybe she imagined it. Stress, fear, paranoia. She couldn't watch anymore. She turned off the TV. Darkness swallowed the room. Back to the bathroom. Time to rinse the conditioner, then sleep, then forget. She glanced at her watch. Midnight. Exactly midnight. The hour when yin and yang trade places, when the veil is thinnest, when the dead can reach through. Linda turned the water back on. It gushed out fast, too fast, pressure wrong. She leaned over the sink, unwrapped the towel, let her hair fall into the basin. The water ran through her hair, cold, so cold it hurt. And then the water stopped, completely. No trickle, just silence. Linda's hands found the towel, started to straighten up. A hand grabbed her hair from inside the drain, pulled hard. Her face slammed into the porcelain. She tasted copper, saw stars. Another hand, and another, pulling her down into the drain that was too small, that should have been too small. Linda screamed, grabbed the sink edges, tried to pull away, but the hands were strong, so strong. Her head went under the water, filthy water, black water, water that tasted like graves. Do you know what drowning in a sink feels like? Let me tell you, it is intimate. You die alone, but not alone. Something is with you, helping, pulling, welcoming. Linda's lungs burned. Her vision darkened. The hands never let go. She thought, I should have gone to bed with dirty hair. That was her last thought. Her spiritual pilot lights went out. 1, 2, 3. They found her the next morning, head in the sink, drowned. The coroner said it was impossible. Not enough water to drown in, but the lungs were full of something that wasn't quite water. Black, thick, like it came from deep underground, from a place where light never reaches. The neighbors remembered hearing something that night, around midnight. A splash, then silence. No one investigated. In that building, you learn not to ask questions, especially about sounds after midnight. But that is only half of tonight's transmission. The second tale belongs to a man named Chen Winbo. Chen's story begins with love, with a grandfather who raised him, who taught him right from wrong. When grandfather died, Chen was devastated, but he did everything right. The funeral, the cremation, the burial. Or so he thought. For a year, Chen visited the grave every week. Burned spirit currency wiring funds to the Bank of Hell, as the old folks say. He brought offerings, talked to the stone, kept his grandfather's memory alive. But the dream started. Every night, the same dream. His grandfather standing in darkness, not speaking, just staring, with eyes that held something Chen couldn't name. Not anger, not peace. Something in between, something lost. Chen told himself it was grief processing, normal, but the dreams grew worse. His grandfather began to look wrong, skin too pale, movements too stiff, like a marionette with tangled strings. In one dream, his grandfather opened his mouth. But instead of words, black liquid poured out. Just poured and poured. Chen woke screaming. His wife held him, asked what was wrong. He couldn't explain. How do you say? I think my dead grandfather is trying to tell me something, but I don't speak ghost. His mother suggested the spirit medium, Old Wang, the woman who sees between worlds. Chen was skeptical, but desperate. When you're drowning in nightmares, you grab any rope. Old Wang's house smelled like incense and secrets. The air was thick enough to chew. She was ancient. Skin like rice paper, eyes that saw past your skull into your soul. Sit, she said, not an invitation, a command. Chen sat, watched her light incense, mutter words in a dialect he didn't recognize. Tell me about your grandfather, she said. Her voice was rust and honey. Chen explained. The death, the funeral, the dreams, the wrongness. Old Wang closed her eyes. Her breathing changed, became shallow, distant. When she opened them again, they weren't her eyes anymore. They were too deep, too old. He is not where you think he is. The voice wasn't hers either. It came from somewhere behind her teeth. Chen's blood turned to ice water. What do you mean? The urn you visit. It is not him. He is somewhere else, lost, wandering. The words hit Chen like a hammer. Not him. Then who was in that grave? The crematorium, Old Wang said, her real voice returning. They mixed up the ashes. It happens more than people know. Chen felt the floor tilt. A year, an entire year of burning offerings to a stranger. His grandfather receiving nothing, wandering in limbo, unable to rest, unable to go home. You must fix this, Old Wang said, or he'll never find peace, and neither will you. Chen went to the crematorium the next day, demanded records, demanded answers. The manager was defensive, embarrassed, then finally truthful. There was confusion that day. Multiple cremations. We've improved our procedures since then. Since then, Chen wanted to scream, but he needed information more than catharsis. They found it in the records. 2 urns switched. His grandfather's ashes had gone to another family. A stranger's ashes lay in his grandfather's grave. The other family was contacted. They were equally horrified. Had been visiting the wrong grave for a year, too. The exchange was arranged. Chen stood at his grandfather's grave. The grave that wasn't his grandfather's, and watched them dig it up. The urn came up. Someone else's name, someone else's ashes, someone else's family somewhere loving a stranger. Chen held his real grandfather for the first time in a year. The urn was cold, heavy rite. They reburied him properly. New ceremony, new prayers. Chen burned enough spirit money to light up the underworld. That night, Chen dreamed again, but this time his grandfather was smiling. He embraced Chen in the dream. The hug was warm, real, like childhood memories. Good boy, his grandfather said. I knew you'd figure it out. Those careless fools at the crematorium couldn't keep me lost forever. I'm home now. Finally home. Chen woke with tears on his face, but these were different tears: relief, joy, peace. The other family reported the same thing. Their father appeared in a dream, smiling, at peace. The story spread through town. People started checking their own urns, and they found more errors. More switched ashes, more wandering spirits, more families who had been loving strangers, burning offerings into the void. An old woman discovered she'd been visiting a stranger for 5 years. Her husband's ashes were gone, untraced, lost in the system's chaos. The crematorium's records were a disaster, labels faded, files misfiled. Carelessness compounded over years. Some families could find each other, make the switch, correct the error, but others couldn't. Their loved ones were out there somewhere, in unmarked graves in strangers' homes, scattered, lost. The old woman with the lost husband began having nightmares. Her husband wandering in wilderness, calling her name, no one answering. A Taoist priest said that misplaced ashes were a profound disrespect to the dead and the living both. The dead cannot rest in the wrong place. Like a key forced into the wrong lock, nothing opens, nothing works. The living suffer too, cursed by proximity to misplaced spirits, bad luck, illness, nightmares. Those who couldn't find their loved ones' real ashes held ceremonies anyway, hoping the prayers would find them wherever they were. Chen learned his lesson. He became obsessively careful, triple-checking everything: names, dates, labels. Every time he visited the grave, he read the name again and again, making absolutely sure. Terrified his grandfather might run away from home again. After the correction, Chen's nightmares stopped. Complete silence. Peaceful sleep. He believed his grandfather was watching from the other side, protecting him now instead of haunting him. Sometimes Chen wondered, what if old Wang hadn't helped? What if he'd ignored the dreams? His grandfather would still be lost, and Chen would still be burning offerings to a stranger. An eternal misdirection of love, worse than neglect, because he thought he was being a good grandson, while his grandfather starved in the spirit world. Imagine that, pouring your heart out to an empty room, while the person you love is locked outside, listening through the walls. Chen told everyone he knew, warned them, check your urns, watch the crematorium, don't trust, verify. One friend took the advice, checked his father's urn. The name was wrong, one character off. Same sound, different character. Small mistake, but for the dead, there are no small mistakes. Names are everything. Identity is everything. The friend had the urn re-engraved. Proper name, proper respect. His nightmares stopped too. Chen visits old Wang every year now, brings gifts, thanks her for building the bridge between worlds. She always says the same thing. It was your grandfather's doing. I was just the telephone wire, but Chen knows. Without her, the message would never have connected. His grandfather would still be a ghost crying in the wilderness. The crematorium changed its procedures. Photos of every urn, signatures required, barcode tracking. But the old mistakes can't all be fixed. Some spirits remain lost. Some families will never know they're loving the wrong bones. People say that on Tomb Sweeping Festival, you can hear them, the lost ones, crying in the wind. Chen always burns extra spirit money, not just for his grandfather, for all the homeless souls, hoping they'll find some comfort, some sense that someone somewhere remembers they exist. Chen now has a family, a son. He brings the boy to visit great-grandfather's grave. He tells him the story, the mistake, the correction, the importance of getting death right. The boy asks, if great-grandfather was in the wrong place, was he lonely? Chen touches his son's head. Yes, that is why we must be careful. Life deserves care. death deserves even more. The boy learned. Now when they visit, he cleans the stone meticulously, arranges offerings perfectly, everything precise. Grandfather's grave is always the cleanest in the cemetery, the Chen family's way of apologizing for that lost year. Even though grandfather forgave them from beyond, Chen will never forgive himself for that carelessness. The story became a warning video, played on loop at the crematorium, teaching workers, teaching families. Because an urn is not just a container, it is a family's connection, a soul's only address. The last bridge between the living and the dead. Get it wrong, and you separate families across dimensions forever.